So Lamar Jackson is absolutely dominating the NFL right now. We got Mina Kimes, former quarterback Jace Daniels, and Emmanuel Aiko all chipping in on why Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is going to win the MVP and some things the Ravens can do to improve this team. And speaking of that, we got some big changes the Ravens could be making in some upcoming games, some options at free safety after Marcus Williams has really been struggling this season. So how the Baltimore Ravens defense can improve, some updates on Kyle Hamilton and Unique Ngakoue, who was just claimed off waivers by the Patriots, and much more. So welcome into another episode of Ravens Reports, man. It's your guy Noah here with For the Flock. As always, bringing you guys our top 5 news reports and storylines coming out of our Baltimore Ravens today. Let's dive into the content. At number 1, let's start with some good news. All right, Kyle Hamilton is officially good to go. No serious injury for him after going down on Thursday Night Football. As soon as Kyle Hamilton went down, you saw an immediate difference in the defense. Not having Kyle Hamilton on the field, his presence, man, is felt. The lack of his presence is definitely felt. Kyle Hamilton is one of the guys that gets everyone else going. When he makes a big play, a blitz, a big hit where he comes screaming down from the secondary, or he makes a pass breakup on a tight end or a receiver, man, Kyle Hamilton brings the energy for the Ravens defense. So not having him on the field, you can definitely tell. We do have a little bit of an extra time for him to recover. The Ravens obviously have a big divisional matchup that could go a long way in determining who wins the AFC North this year. With a little bit of extra rest time coming off Thursday Night Football, could Kyle Hamilton strap up for the Pittsburgh Steelers game? That remains to be seen, but the ankle injury is not considered to be serious. At number 2, we also got Unique Ngakoue, who was waived by the Baltimore Ravens. He was supposed to be, kind of a spark to the pass rush. He had 1 sack. He had a game where he had a sack and showed a little bit of juice off the edge, and John Harbaugh talked about how he was giving, Ronnie Stanley some good reps in practice and everything like that, but he was ultimately waived after the Baltimore Ravens added Keaton Mitchell to the active roster, and they wanted to get him back on the practice squad, but the Patriots actually claimed him off of waivers, so he will not be returning to Baltimore this season unless he were to be released. Also, it's reported that the Bengals, who've had some pass rush issues this season, tried to claim Unique Ngakoue off waivers, but obviously the Patriots had first dibs with the lower losing record. And at number 3, I want to show you 3 different clips here on what Lamar Jackson's doing this season, some different perspectives from the media. But first of all, man, I want to show you guys what he's done over the last 6 games. We've went from, it's so beautiful to see how this has been set up, because earlier in the season, we were seeing Derrick Henry go for 100, 150, 200 yards, going absolutely crazy in the MVP conversation. Teams obviously buckled down to stop the run, and then now you've seen in the last 6 games, you've seen what this has done to opposing defenses that want to take away this run game. Well, all Lamar Jackson has done is pass for 280 yards in 6 straight games. And on the season, he has the best touchdown to interception ratio, 24 passing touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. That's first in the NFL. On the season, he also has the highest passer rating in the NFL, which is 123.2, which is the highest in NFL history over a quarterback's first 10 starts in a season. He's breaking records, records that were held by Aaron Rodgers and others. The QBR is also first at 77.6. Passing yards right now, he's second. Yards per attempt, he's second. Completion percentage, top 10 at 69.1. And then you add on the elite passing numbers, he also has 538 rushing yards, which is first, obviously, among all quarterbacks, but is also top 16 among all players in the entire NFL, including running backs. So Lamar Jackson is doing stuff that is absolutely unprecedented. If you sit down and really look at the numbers, it's really hard to believe. Here's what quarterback Chase Daniels had to say on those numbers specifically as a passer.
He's throwing his way to it. Okay, Lamar's passer rating of 123.2 is on pace to break the all-time single-season record from your guy, right? So he's actually not running. He's only rushed for 530 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He is first in passer rating in the NFL. He's tied for first in pass touchdowns. He's second in pass yards. He's 15th in completions. So Lamar Jackson is, even though there's doubters out there, an MVP, in my opinion. And I love the way he's playing, because quite honestly, James, that play you showed, there's no one in this world that can do that. And when it comes to great quarterback play, I look at the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
What have you done for me in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
Since 2021, Lamar has 3 wins when trailing by 14 or more points in the fourth quarter. It's the most in the NFL over that span. Yesterday in the fourth quarter, when they needed it the most, they scored 21 points. We always hold up that fourth quarter, right, sign, say finish. Lamar had a perfect passer rating. He threw for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So you guys need to stop saying that Lamar is not a thrower, Lamar is not this, and that narrative is gone. But there are some people out there that say that he's throwing his way to it. Put some respect on our guy's name.
Yeah, I'm with that.
It is funny to hear how the media's tone changes throughout a season based off of, kind of recency bias. And one of the things that's funny is earlier in the season, I'm pretty sure Chase Daniels said that he would take Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson this season, that he was the better thrower, the better quarterback. And obviously it's not panned out to be that way. And now the tune has changed a little bit. But here's what Emmanuel Aiko had to say on Lamar Jackson as well.
I think Lamar is running away with this MVP award. I don't know that it's particularly close. At this point in time right now, he's clearly the best player on the field every time he steps on the field. Even the game when he stepped on the field with Patrick Mahomes, he was still the best player on the field. Not necessarily to say overall he's a better player in the entirety of his career, but if we're talking about this season, what can you say? Joe Burrow played a phenomenal game yesterday. Joe Burrow was not the best player on his team. Jamar Chase was. And Lamar Jackson was the best player on the field, a field in which Jamar Chase had 274 yards. 11 catches. A field in which Joe Burrow had 4 touchdown passes and over 430 yards, and Lamar Jackson still surpassed them all. Many players have done excellently, and Lamar Jackson has surpassed them all. I think he is running away, sprinting away, not even looking back as it pertains to this MVP award. What we are witnessing is historic. Historic. People were saying Lamar Jackson couldn't pass, and now look at what this dude is doing, throwing the ball. It's utterly ridiculous. I can't even truly describe it with words. James, what you say?
So it looks pretty clear, even if Lamar Jackson were to finish the season, just have average stats throughout the rest of the season, he'd probably still win the MVP based off what he's done in 10 games this year. Lamar Jackson is doing things that we've never seen before at the quarterback position with the rare ability of him as an athlete, but then you see what he's doing as a passer. We talked about this in the last few years, that if Lamar Jackson could just get a little bit better as a passer, and we saw the passing minded offensive coordinator Todd Monken come in, and we also saw what T. Martin's doing as his quarterbacks coach to help make these improvements. The cerebral part of the game, knowing the coverages and everything, man, Lamar Jackson, the way he's playing right now, whenever you stack on top of the athletic ability with the accuracy and the cerebral ability of reading coverages, man, Lamar Jackson is something that is really, really hard to stop right now as an NFL quarterback, doing things we've never seen. And it's an honor to be a Ravens fan and to see this happening in our offense, especially after so long. You guys remember all the, mediocrity on offense. We always had an elite defense with the Ravens. Now it's funny to see the Baltimore Ravens have the best offense in football, one of the best quarterbacks in football, and one of the best running backs in football with just a top-rated offense, beautiful, play calling with Todd Monken right now. And now the defense is struggling. Things have totally flipped. But here's what Mina Kimes says on Lamar Jackson being so special, but the defense really struggling. Check out her take on this Ravens team and if they can win a Super Bowl this year.
Well, you got to start with Lamar, who showed the world why he is the MVP favorite, right? He went 10 for 11 for 162 yards on third down. Perfect passer rating. That's great. What's less great is he needed every single one of those 10 completions because the margin for error on this team is so small. In the first half, most of their struggles on offense were due to the fact that they had drives derailed by penalties. And of course, they overcame that, and Lamar overcame it as he so often does. But when I look forward to the playoffs and you're going up against teams like the Bills or the Chiefs, I worry that if one of those penalties happens against, say, an illegal man downfield on RPOs, common thing with the Ravens, because the defense is so bad, they won't be able to overcome just a single penalty derailing a drive. He has to be flawless. In the second half, he was. That was enough for this week, but it is concerning going forward.
So she says that, hey, this Ravens defense is not leaving a lot of room for error, and she's not wrong. The Ravens have had flashes of good defense. And if you look at those flashes, it's against teams that don't have elite receivers. The 2 elite games that the Ravens have had on defense has been the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills. And at the time, the Buffalo Bills didn't have Amari Cooper. So against those teams, the Ravens' pass defense has been solid. and they've been able to stuff those teams' run games with their top-ranked run defense, and they're really stout interior defensive linemen and the linebackers that can really fit the run right now, but are struggling in pass coverage. So the Ravens' pass defense, if it doesn't get better, if it doesn't get significantly better through the last 7 games that we have this season, it's going to be difficult for the Ravens to win a Super Bowl. They still could with the bad defense, but it definitely takes down the margin of error for more complete teams. Right now, the biggest threat is the Chiefs because they have a top 10 offense, but they also have a top 5 defense. They're so complete right now and are finding different ways to win. So they have some more room for margin of error on both sides of the football because the other side can pick each other up. One of the suggestions that I'm seeing on social media, and one of the suggestions I saw by a very highly respected Baltimore Ravens reporter, is Jeff Sarebek said, hey, why not try Brandon Stephens at this point at safety? So he kind of suggests Brandon Stephens going back to safety, which he played in college and has played in the past here with the Baltimore Ravens, because would that be better than him possibly getting benched over Nate Wiggins? Because Stephens isn't playing, his best football this year. And Nate Wiggins, he's the future at corner. You drafted him in the first round. He's super talented. Yeah, he's had his lumps here and there, but he's definitely, I think he's shown you more in coverage this year than Brandon Stephens. So the question is, can you start Ardarius Washington and Brandon Stephens at safety while letting Kyle Hamilton be that nickel / star defender, that other guy that blitzes, does stuff all around the defense? Another alternative is Bo Braid getting a shot at free safety, because what Marcus Williams is doing right now is not good. He's ranked in the bottom of the barrel among all NFL safeties right now. He let that touchdown go right past him to Jamar Chase for the deep touchdown. He bit on the out route by the tight end, and Jamar Chase flies right past him. It looks like Brandon Stephens was looking for help, and he didn't get it. But obviously that isn't the only case this year where Marcus Williams has allowed big plays. It's so weird because Marcus Williams has been so talented throughout his career. I remember in 2022 when we signed him in free agency, he was making plays everywhere. And he was that middle of the field roaming safety that, got a ton of pass breakups, was playing with so much confidence, had 4 interceptions through the first 4 games or something like that. And then he had dealt with injury, and then he had another injury in 2023. I think it was to the wrist, but he doesn't look confident. He also doesn't look as quick. He looks like he's struggling to run, downfield. He looks just not the same Marcus Williams. He currently has a 42.8 PFF grade, and I think that's ranked around 80th in the NFL. And this move, Brandon Stephens going to safety, it could be a big change in season, but it is a position of need, and the alternative, like we said, could be getting benched for Nate Wiggins. We got to do something with this pass defense at this point, man. We got to do something. The Ravens have a super high chance of making the playoffs, so even if they experiment and it doesn't go well, and with the secondary, at least you tried, because you got to have an answer by the time you hit the playoffs this season, because if the pass defense is allowing, a quarterback to throw 400 yards and a receiver like Jamar Chase last week to have 260 yards and 2 touchdowns, your chances of winning a Super Bowl aren't high week in and week out in the postseason like that. So I think starting Nate Wiggins should be on the table. I think he played around 50 to 60% of the snaps last week against the Bengals. Why not bump him up to 70, 80% and let him have the start? And try Stephens in the slot. Try him at safety. We got to do something right now because what we're doing isn't working. It is frustrating to see because Brandon Stephens, so talented, had a great season last year as a outside starting corner, really good. He played better than Marlon Humphrey last year as an outside cover corner. And then Marcus Williams, like we said, has been so talented. He was a second-round pick, got a massive payday in free agency from the Ravens because of how good he was in New Orleans with the Saints. And then his play has dropped off. So between the play dropping off of Marcus Williams, Brandon Stephens, and even Roquan Smith, specifically in pass coverage, it's taken a big toll in this defense. I do have faith that these guys can improve. I do have faith that the Ravens can move stuff around to improve their defense, specifically also schematically. You know, can we play more man coverage versus zone coverage where we're having these absurd coverage busts? Another guy that makes a big difference, I want you guys to look at some of these clips of Travis Jones getting after it, because he missed a few weeks, but he was back in the lineup against the Bengals, and his presence was felt. You know, anytime he's on the field in pass rushing situations and run stuffing situations, but at Oprah getting benched for a guy like Brandon Stevens at corner, or Bo Braid, or Darius Washington getting a start at free safety, and then Nate Wiggins possibly starting at outside corner. All these things are things that the Ravens can try to do to fix this defense. We got a big upcoming matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers have had Lamar Jackson's number the last few seasons. We have not had a lot of success versus the Steelers. I don't know if you guys remember that game last season where we had like 10 drops or something, and it was just real ugly. So the Ravens are getting prepared for that game where, you know, they're probably going to be watching the Steelers on Sunday going against the Commanders. The Steelers are going to get tested in back-to-back weeks against really good offenses, the two best offenses in football, the Commanders and the Ravens. So we got that upcoming. Make sure you guys subscribe and notification bell on so you're notified anytime we upload and you don't miss any previews or news reports or updates, anything, man. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.